As you can see, it's snowing. And although we're hoping to get started with more seed sowings as soon as possible, when weather turns like this, I don't think it could put you off anymore. And we've got a week of this, apparently. So we can still check on a few bits and bobs in greenhouse. And maybe a few plants indoors. I think that's going to be about it for today. Just like my garlic's buried. Well, I don't think that weather could be any more uninviting than it is today. And it's quite cold as well. And as I just mentioned, we've got best part of a week of this to come. And I've uncovered a couple of us plants in greenhouse. These are the ones that we put the bags over because we was protecting them from those really harsh drops in temperature. And they're alright. All the leaves are perfectly fine. No discoloration. So that worked. We've also got things under fleece, so I'm just going to take fleece off and have a quick look. I'll just pan the camera around so you can see what they're like. Well, that salad plant that we've done seems to be coping perfectly alright. Not much in way of growth since last time we looked, but I guess you can pretty much expect that. And those spring onion tops that we cut off, still growing away quite happily. And we've got this salad planter as well, which we quite recently harvested. We took a lot of these spinach leaves off, and now they've started to grow back again. More little leaves at the bottom there, looking really well. And the spring onions are looking quite healthy too. So that's working out alright, although it is quite slow growing. We've just been harvesting leaves from this size upwards and leaving the tinier ones. We have got some beetroot leaf in there as well, and that's doing alright. And behind that, we've got a few carrots. And we're only growing those to try and get small carrots anyway. But so far the plants look alright. Carrot pots still looking alright as well. I think it's a bit full in there, so I think we're definitely going to be harvesting this for quite small carrots when we get round to that. It's not going to be anytime soon, we know that. And we've also got this tray of carrots, which is, it's doing okay, but again it's growing really slowly. And these are those carrots that grow into a round bowl. And as I said, over the last couple of weeks they've not really grown at all, but I guess that's also to be expected. This one's doing alright though. That's a carrot trough. Some of them we thinned out, left a gap between, and then the back row we decided to leave that and just let them grow as they want, so we can harvest loads of baby carrots from it. But they're a good size now, those, but they have been going quite a while as well. This container cauliflower is looking really well. Nothing curling in the centre of it yet, but it'll get there. Parsnips, they look alright. Bit more dead foliage to get rid of. But the plants themselves have got some really nice leaf on them. So we should be able to get some baby parsnips out of those early summer. And the Savoy cabbages still look okay. So we haven't sustained any damage as such, even though we've had quite low temperatures. These onions are drying out a little bit and all. Those are the red Brunswicks, and to be fair, they don't look as stronger plants as they could. So we might have to start doing something about these, like maybe taking a few out and planting them on. They're in really small cells, so that's not going to be helping. So at some point today, I might take a few of these out. But overall, considering the temperatures we're getting, I think a lot of the plants are holding their own quite well. Those broad beans are still doing really well. The flowers are now starting to die back a little bit. So basically, that's going to start growing beans for us. And if you look close up, you can see we've got a little bit of somewhat going off there. And we're wanting to get these onion sets put out, but obviously with weather being like it is, there's not much point at the moment. So we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for those. So things are definitely growing at a much slower rate now. But until this weather decides to pick up, you can't expect anything more. The main thing is to make sure that everything is constantly protected, because these temperatures are going up and down every single day. But at least by adding that little bit of protection that we did, it's paid off. We've not lost any plants at all. Some, ironically, need a bit of water because they're drying out, but that can be fixed quite easily. Just the fact that we've got no casualties is satisfying enough for me at this point. And we've got a few plants indoors as well, so we're going to have a quick look and see how they're getting on, because we have still been having problems with aphids, and that's the most irritating part about it, because if you have them in your greenhouse and there's natural predators about, that'll sort out a lot of those aphids for you. But because they're in a controlled environment indoors, it tends to get out of control really quick. So you have to use some kind of a pesticide to combat that. And I think personally at the moment, we're not winning that battle, because we've treated them 2 or 3 times indoors and they keep coming back and coming back. But I haven't checked them this morning, so we'll pop down and have a look and see what the situation is. Things are pretty bleak outside today, but on we go. And we just do best we can at this point of year. At least the plants that's in that greenhouse, due to that frost protection, have managed to hold their own. And that's the most important thing. The weirdest thing about it is that we're growing plants indoors as well, and they're not growing much faster at all, because we've got them in a room without any heating on, because we really can't afford to heat 2 rooms, knowing that one, we don't ever sit in. So short of using heat mats for everything, which is not always suitable for certain plants, we've got to just leave them as they are and just hope that those lights above them provide just enough warmth to keep them going. And that usually works every single year. But this year, it's not quite as good as it has been in past. But we have got a few things that are really trying. We've got some of these onions growing indoors. These are more of those red Brunswicks, and although they look pretty much dried out, we have got onions growing in there, and they're not at a bad size at the moment, but we're going to have to think about moving these on quite soon. And we've got some more of the same in greenhouse, but we're in that position where you want to move them, but the weather outside is just not suitable to start moving plants about. Even though onions are really cold hardy, we're going to end up in a position where we're going to have to move them into other containers indoors rather than putting them into really cold compost outside. So that's something we're going to have to think about at some point this week, because we don't want to be leaving these in here much longer than they've been in, because they are multi-sown as well. We're growing some peppers indoors, and these again are not doing as well as they normally do. They are starting to curl up a little bit, which to me tells you the plants are not really happy. And I think that is a direct result of that room being too cold for them, because when we first looked at them, they was doing perfectly fine. Some of them do look alright, whereas others definitely seem to be struggling. So one thing we can do with those, because there's more than one plant growing in each cell, we're going to have to go around and pick out the best ones and then just pinch off any that are growing beside them, just so we know there's only one plant per cell, And we might have to bring these into the living area for a few hours a day as well to keep them warmed up. Maybe pop a light above them in there. At the moment, everything seems to be quite a battle with this weather, and it's been that way since early December. And the exact same thing is happening with these more peppers. We've got one there, it's a really good size, and it's got its true leaves. But then we've got other ones, which are really tiny. And to me, they don't look as green as they should be. So once again, I think that's got something to do with things being a lot colder than they normally are. And then we've got these ones. We sowed these at Christmas, and we've had a bit of a battle, to be honest, with these because of aphids. And we keep treating them, and the aphids keep coming back. But we're trying to keep them going as best we can because they're not bad sized plants. But when you look under the leaves of these plants, you can see there's still some aphids there. They just keep returning, and that's something we've got to keep on top on, because otherwise, by the time we get to a point where these can actually go outside, they'll have had that much sap drained out of these leaves, the plants are going to die. And that's the big difference between growing things indoors and growing them outdoors in a suitable climate, because those aphids have got lots of natural predators that will pick off the majority of those bugs from your plants and help them survive, whereas indoors there's nothing to combat that problem except yourself. I did one of these little plastic containers that we got really cheap, caravan wash bowls, and we drilled loads of holes in the bottom. So I thought what we'd do is make a little salad planter out on it, and we filled this one with French breakfast, radish, and what we're going to do is let these leaves grow on, and then we'll harvest the leaves. Great thing about these is because they're so small, when I want to water them, I don't have to water on top. I can just stand it in sink for 5 minutes and let it soak up that moisture that they need, which is just about now. But the plants themselves are growing perfectly well, but they're a lot cold hardier than things like peppers and tomatoes, and that's the problem. That's where you need to find the balance in. If you have room like we do that you can't afford to eat, but you want to grow warm climate plants, is it going to be worth your effort and time, or should you wait until it's suitable to do them when nature decides it's fitting? I've also started some tomato plants off as well indoors, and they're not a bad size, to be fair. Those are the Italian plum tomatoes that we're looking forward to, San Maranzo. Because we've got a cooking channel, we like to make lots of tomato sauces up to freeze so that we can then use them for soup, sauces and curries through colder months. And if you haven't seen Cooking Channel and seen what we do with a lot of us produce through here, then there's a link in the description, so you can click on that, visit that channel and see exactly what we do with everything as we harvest. And while you're over there, why not hit that subscribe button, because we update that a couple of times a week as well. And then we've got these ones. Again, good germination. Every cell has got a plant in it. These are cherry falls, which are obviously red cherry tomatoes. Again, they're looking alright, and you'll notice they're not stretched, they're not leggy. And the reason for that is because we raised them on a box, so they're only a couple of inches away from light. And the plants are looking quite healthy in comparison to those peppers especially. So because they're closer to that light, they're also getting a little bit more warmth, and maybe that's something we need to do with these peppers. Just raise them up as much as we can. But we have got something. We've got 2 or 3 packs of these on go. And then last thing we've got growing indoors at the moment are these. And they're called Paris Silver Skin, and they're pickling onions. And if you look, you can just see that we've started to get some germination. So they're on the way, but again, onions are very cold hardy. But we have got something at least on go. But from my personal experience, in years gone by, we've usually got a lot more plants and a lot better quality, because it's not normally as cold as this for so long. And these are the lights that we're using at the moment. Just old shop lights that we got from Facebook for free. And we've got little boxes like this with a piece of glass on top, so we can raise things closer to light, like these more tomatoes there. And the closer they are to light, the less leggy they're going to get. So that's what we do that for. And I can also feel warmth coming from that light, which is obviously helping these plants. And we've got us potatoes under there, all chitting away quite happily. But I've just set this heat mat up. Very cheap to run and quite cheap to buy from eBay. So I think we'll pop those peppers on that heat mat and maybe even raise them up a little bit. See if that helps. Because I can't think of anything more that we can do at this point. Well, 30 minutes later, you can see things are getting no better. And all my hoop tunnels are really starting to sag down with weight at snow now. So I might even have to start and take these down. So you can see that indoors, although things are growing a little bit quicker, they're not growing that much quicker. So it makes you wonder, is it worth it to start things so early in year indoors? Especially since this year, we can't really afford to eat that room that they're in. So that room is still really cold day and night. And you're trying to grow things like peppers and tomatoes, which is just not a suitable growing area for them. Normally I would have the shed set up with lots of lights in and lots of plants. And the lights alone maintain a temperature of about 65 degrees day and night, which is enough to give those plants that extra boost that they need very early in year. But as you can see, the plants indoors this year, because they're in a colder climate, are growing so slow to a point where you think it might have been better to have waited a bit longer before sowing those seeds. And then as the light levels improve and the temperature picks up, they would grow a lot quicker anyway. So one would eventually catch up with the other in a shorter space of time without using any lights whatsoever. But we have got some plants in there that are looking alright, so we'll just concentrate on those. Maybe move them out of that cold room into somewhere a little warmer, since these temperatures are constantly dropping. So that situation is not going to get any better anytime soon. And at least if we get a dozen pepper plants out of that, at least we have got a start on that growing season. So maybe this afternoon I'll soak a few more pepper seeds in a weak tea solution, because that softens the shell and makes them germinate a lot quicker. As quick as 7 days. In comparison to when you do it normally, they could take up to a month. And we'll pop one of those heat mats on and we'll get some more seeds in some cells and get them started, just to make sure we've got something by the time we're early summer. So as for this weather goes, it's very annoying and a massive deficit to anything that you're growing, whether it be inside your greenhouse or out. And now to a point where, because of the energy crisis we've got going off, even indoors is not 100% suitable, because you can't afford to eat a room that you don't really use. But on the upside of things, we have got a couple of bits and bobs that's going to be alright in there. All these plants that are in here that we've been growing since early autumn, thanks to that bit of protection from fleece and bubble wrap, have managed to hold their own. So we'll just see how everything goes over the next couple of weeks, because at that point it will be spring and hopefully the weather is going to be a lot better than what it is today. If you're interested in seeing what else we do over the next couple of weeks, please hit that subscribe button and press that notifications bell. We look forward to seeing you then. Take care.